It was a quiet Saturday afternoon in a peaceful suburban neighborhood. The kind of place where nothing dramatic ever seemed to happen, until that day. A bright red classic muscle car sat half inside an open garage, gleaming under the sun. Its polished body looked out of place in such a calm setting, like it was hiding a secret. Standing beside it was a man in a mechanic's jumpsuit, his hands stained with grease, his expression calm but guarded. Suddenly, the silence shattered. A woman in an orange outfit stormed up the driveway, her footsteps sharp and angry. Her face was red with fury, her finger shaking as she pointed straight at the man. "You stole my car," she shouted, loud enough for neighbors to peek through their curtains. The man barely flinched. He slowly raised his head and looked at her, confused but composed. "That's a serious accusation," he said firmly. "Got any proof?" That only made her angrier. Before the argument could escalate further, two police officers stepped forward from the sidewalk. They had arrived minutes earlier after an emergency call reported a car theft in progress. Both officers carefully observed the scene, the furious woman, the calm mechanic, and the red car that seemed to be the center of it all. "This is my car," the woman insisted, crossing her arms. "It was stolen last month. And now I find it sitting right here like nothing happened." The mechanic shook his head. "I didn't steal anything," he replied. "This car was brought to me legally. I've got paperwork." The officers exchanged glances. Something about the situation didn't quite add up. The woman seemed confident, almost too confident. The man, on the other hand, showed no signs of panic. One officer asked the woman for details, license plate number, registration, any documents she could provide. She hesitated for just a moment so small most people wouldn't notice. But the officer did. As the tension thickened in the air, the truth was slowly beginning to surface, though no one yet realized how shocking it would be. The officer waited calmly, pen ready. "Ma'am, can you tell me the license plate number of the car?" The woman opened her mouth, then paused. I don't remember it exactly," she said quickly. "But it's my car. I'd recognize it anywhere." The mechanic raised an eyebrow but stayed silent. The second officer walked toward the red car and bent down to check the VIN number near the windshield. He radioed it in for verification. While they waited, he turned to the mechanic. "Sir, you said you have paperwork." The mechanic nodded and walked into the garage. A few seconds later, he returned holding a folder, neatly organized, slightly worn, but official looking. Inside were repair receipts, ownership transfer papers, and a signed agreement showing the car had been purchased legally from an estate auction. The woman's confidence began to crack. That paperwork could be fake. She snapped, her voice rising again. "He's lying. Thieves do this all the time." One of the officers held up a hand. "Ma'am, please calm down. We're just verifying facts." Then the radio crackled. "VIN check complete," the voice said. "Vehicle is registered to a male owner. Purchased legally 3 months ago. No theft reports linked to this VIN." The mechanic let out a slow breath. "I told you," he said quietly. The woman's eyes widened. She took a step back. That's impossible," she stammered. "This looks exactly like my car. Same color, same model." The officer nodded. "That happens. Classic cars are often restored to look identical." The second officer crossed his arms. "Ma'am, do you have any proof at all? Registration, insurance, photos with a matching VIN?" The woman shook her head, now avoiding eye contact. But then she suddenly said, "Wait, I remember something." Everyone turned toward her. She pointed at a small scratch near the front bumper. "That mark. I remember that scratch. That's how I know it's mine." The mechanic leaned closer, then smiled faintly. "That scratch, I made it myself during restoration. It wasn't there before." The officers exchanged another look, this time more serious. The woman's breathing grew faster. Her story was unraveling, piece by piece. And what the officers were about to discover next would change everything. The senior officer took a step forward, his voice calm but firm. "Ma'am, we need you to answer honestly. Why did you accuse this man without proof?" The woman swallowed hard, her confident posture collapsed. The neighborhood felt eerily silent, every eye now fixed on her. I used to own a car just like this," she finally admitted. "Same model, same year, same color." She paused, then added quietly, "But I sold it." The mechanic frowned. "Sold it?" She nodded, her voice shaking. "I was in debt. I sold it fast, too fast. A few months later, I saw this car online after it was restored. It looked better than it ever did when I owned it. Her fists clenched. I thought, if I claimed it was stolen, maybe I could get it back. The officers stiffened. So you made a false report? One asked. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't think it would go this far, she whispered. The senior officer sighed. Ma'am, filing a false police report is a serious offense. He turned to the mechanic. Sir, thank you for your cooperation. You're free to go. Relief washed over the mechanic's face. Months of hard work, long nights in the garage, everything he had poured into restoring the car, had almost been taken away in a moment of greed. The woman was gently escorted toward the police car. As she walked past the red muscle car, she looked at it one last time, not with anger now, but regret. The engine started. The police vehicle slowly drove away. The mechanic stood alone in the driveway, the sun reflecting off the flawless red paint. He placed his hand on the hood and smiled. The truth had won. A week later, the neighborhood was quiet again, but the story had spread fast. Neighbors who once whispered now nodded respectfully whenever the mechanic drove past in the red muscle car. What had almost become a disaster turned into a lesson everyone remembered. The woman faced legal consequences for filing a false police report. She wasn't taken away in handcuffs that day, but the charge stayed with her. More than the punishment, it was the shame that followed her, the realization that one lie, spoken in anger and greed, had nearly destroyed an innocent man's livelihood. The mechanic, on the other hand, gained something far more valuable than a car. He gained his reputation. A few days later, new customers began showing up at his garage. You're the guy who proved ownership in front of the police, right? One asked. Word had traveled. He was honest, professional, and trustworthy. Sometimes, when he looked at the car, he didn't just see shiny paint and a powerful engine. He saw a reminder. Truth doesn't need to shout, it only needs proof. Moral of the story: greed and lies may feel powerful in the moment, but truth always wins in the end.